What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome to Not Your Status Quo. I'm Keith, and today we're going to break down the sneak peek of The Mandalorian Season 2.
And I'm Dave. Remember, if you like this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Tell all your friends about our awesome videos.
What's going on, fellow nerds? I'm Doug, and if you want to see more, make sure you aim your blaster at that bell. But no disintegrations.
This is the way.
This is
the way.
Here we go.
Razor Crest, stand down. As we see the same shot of some X-Wings chasing after Mando through the clouds that we saw in the previous trailer.
I always wondered, back in the original Star Wars trilogy, everybody knew who the Millennium Falcon was, and now they all know who the Razor Crest is. Is everybody defined by what ship they fly?
That's a good question. I think some ships are just so iconic in the Star Wars universe and so different from the others that they kind of get well known. I'm sure, as the Millennium Falcon was well known throughout the galaxy from its exploits, the Razor Crest is going to attain that same level.
Star Destroyer serial number 3246B1, stand down, because you're so well known. Star Destroyer serial number 3642B1.
And we see the Razor Crest flying through a trench, a la A New Hope on the Death Star trench, anyone? Looks like it's probably on Ilum.
So I don't recall the name of that moon that we had mentioned previously, but I'm still kind of convinced that it's possible that he might actually be on the planet, the moon that Ahsoka had crash landed on with a bunch of the other clone troopers back at the end of Clone Wars. And if so, I think that'd be really awesome.
Yeah, when they were flying down to the ice planet like that, I thought that was Hoth.
Yeah, I mean, it could be any of those planets. Now, I do think it is Ilum only because of a few things. One, because it was rich in kyber crystals. We saw the planet during the Clone Wars cartoon where the younglings, prior to Revenge of the Sith, would go to find their kyber crystals and build their lightsabers. And it was also Starkiller base where they were using the power of the kyber crystals to help generate that, planet-destroying weapon. We see the ship crash land here. And I don't know if this is going to be prior to in the previous trailer where we saw the ship kind of flying and looking a little bit roughed up. I don't know, because we do see later in this video where he's working on a ship on the same ice planet. So maybe he didn't have all the tools to properly fix it. And that's why when we see him flying to what looks like a water planet in the first trailer, it's still kind of jacked up a bit. We see Mando walking, and I definitely think it is Mando because we do see the bottom of his disintegrator gun kind of between his legs right there. And I kind of think we're getting a little trailer trick in this next scene when he's walking up on Greef and Cara Dune. He's saying, I've been quested with finding the wee baby Yoda's people, but they already knew this. They were there when he was given this quest. So I'm really thinking this is kind of a trailer trick. That's not what's being said in the scene. I think it's something that might give something away. So they kind of overwrote that to kind of remind us that he's quested. And if you look very closely, we'll show it right here, it looks like he has someone frozen in carbonite in his ship while he's walking up.
Yeah, you know what? I was honestly thinking the same thing, Keith. Because it seems unusual that he would basically go back and say the same exact thing to them again. I feel like it's probably doing what Disney does best. We see it all the time with their MCU trailers. So yeah, I totally think that that's probably a trailer trick. He's most likely asking them to do something else. Maybe he has located one of our guest Jedi that we, surmise is going to be in the show, and they just want to trick us into, giving us that big reveal. Plus, you also got to remember who the audience was that was going to be watching this trailer. They dropped it during an NFL game, and it was probably more to bring that audience into it and remind them, hey, this is still a show. It's still going to be releasing a season 2, in case you didn't know.
And it provided somewhat of a little small recap because when he left at the end of the last season, he left without them, and so him coming back to land is that either some sort of um, you know intro where it shows you what happened last season, or does he come back because he has something he needs them for?
We then see a speeder bike flying through a desert planet. Perhaps this is Tatooine. We know he was there in season 1. Has he come back? Is this where he runs into Boba Fett?
Yes, I think this is definitely Tatooine. It has a lot of Tatooine. I don't know, Tatooinians. It just seems like the crowd that they're running into on the in this scene are the people from like a Jabba the Hutt type of his underground. Obviously, he's dead now. This is the rest of the crowd. It appears to me that they would be hanging out on Tatooine.
You actually bring up a great point, Dave. I think you might be right about that. But mostly when you bring up, the crime guys that that were probably associated with Jabba the Hutt. I wonder if this is going to tie into, that little scene that we saw. I mean, obviously not directly, but, sort of relate to in a way that scene that we saw at the end of Solo, where they kind of, gave us a glimpse about the ongoing crime syndicates that were happening in the Star Wars universe. I feel like just because the Empire fell, that all of the crime syndicates probably didn't go away. In fact, this might be the prime opportunity for a lot of them to rise back up, and maybe that has something to do with that gladiatorial ring that we see.
Yeah, and this would be a perfect planet, Tatooine, for this kind of activity, since obviously they showed in the first season with all of the stormtrooper heads on poles. This is not a place for very much law and order. So this would be a great place for the crimes to exist.
So, Doug, are you thinking that Gor Koresh and his fighting ring may be the guy who's taken over for Jabba the Hutt after he was unfortunately murdered in cold blood by Princess Leia Organa in Return of the Jedi?
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. That's and I hadn't really considered it before because it's one of those things you can overlook easily in the Star Wars universe. I mean, when you've got giant evil empires and a resistance and the light side of the force and the dark side of the force, you kind of forget about the smaller moving pieces in Star Wars. So yeah, I think that's totally something that would happen. I mean, we've got a huge power gap, power vacuum that's now present in the Star Wars universe, while the New Republic is trying to build themselves back up. The Empire is hanging on by a couple of strings. This would be the perfect opportunity for these crime syndicates to grab power back up.
I think you're definitely right, Doug. I think definitely someone's going to take over for Jabba once he was out of the scene. His lieutenant or a captain or someone's definitely going to step up and take over that. There's too much money to be had in that crime syndicate to really have it go away. So I think could be right. I think that may be the remnants of Jabba's vast criminal empire there. We do see a crash site next once again, back on the ice planet, whatever that may be. And is something attacked? I think something attacked him because if you look, there's a dead spider behind him in the next shot here. And it looks like there might be giant sort of spider legs wrapped around the Razor Crest that he's trying to free the ship from. And we hear a voiceover here where he is saying, if I can find other Mandalorians, they can guide me. So we know, once again, a little more about the story of season 2. He's going to be out looking for Mandalorians. Is that going to lead him to Sabine Bo-Katan?
That leads me to believe something else that we actually speculated about in our Theory Palooza video and also in our other trailer breakdown. One of the things that we were discussing was this idea that there are probably other, tribes of Mandalorians out there. One of the things that we eventually want to discuss and actually do a deeper dive breakdown on is why this is the way. So stay tuned for that video. But yeah, I think what's going to end up happening is I think Mando is going to end up discovering there are other Mandalorians out there that maybe don't keep their helmets on, maybe practice a different version of their weapon religion or something. And I think it's going to be interesting to see two different variations of, the Mandalorian belief system and culture clash with each other.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Doug. Obviously, we've seen in the Clone Wars and Rebels, all of the Mandalorians in those shows definitely take their helmets off whenever they want to. And I think we've talked about before, is this sort of a deeply religious set of Mandalorians where, hey, keep your helmet on? And could this possibly come up when they run into Boba Fett, who we know isn't a Mandalorian, just wears the armor? Is this going to somehow put him at odds with Din Djarin?
And I wanted to bring that up too. How is he going to react? They didn't show Boba Fett in this preview, but how is he going to react when he sees him? Is he going to think he's a Mandalorian as well, or will he have met Sabine by then, and he'll know of the legend of Boba Fett, or if he knows the legend now, who knows? I don't know where he is as far as his knowledge of Boba Fett.
That's a very good point, Dave. We have no idea. We know that he's a famous bounty hunter in the galaxy, but I mean, these guys didn't even really know much about Jedi. So a bounty hunter that kind of gets around, but he does work for Jabba and Tatooine. So we don't know how much he's frequenting there, but it could be something where he has no idea who Boba Fett is and just thinks he is another Mandalorian. And then maybe one of the other Mandalorians in the show, Sabine, Bo-Katan, Gar Saxton, who knows, maybe outs him as just wearing the armor, and this may put him at odds against all of the Mandalorians.
I think you might actually be on the money with that, Keith. It's kind of hard to tell who knows what in the Star Wars universe. There are a lot of people like, Han, who doesn't believe in the Force in, episode 4. We've got people who don't exactly know what the Jedi are after a Jedi, clearly killed the Emperor. In fact, the Mandalorians all refer to them as sorcerers. So it seems to be kind of this weird tug of war of what knowledge is actually present all over the galaxy. This is a huge galaxy far, far away after all. So I think it is likely that, some of them may be aware of Boba Fett, but it could be another situation like with Jango Fett, when we had Obi-Wan going to Mandalore during the Clone Wars and actually asking about Jango Fett, mentioning that he had saw this man wearing Mandalorian armor. And the Mandalorians there had said, no, we don't know of this man. We don't know of a Mandalorian like that.
We see the Gamorreans fighting in the ring with Gor Koresh, and we do get to see the whistling birds firing off. Actually, this time, instead of blacking out and seeing it, we don't see Baby Yoda shutting his thing again, but we do see this scene again.
But when he did, when they switched the angle and went to the side where Yoda was in front of him, Baby Yoda was in front of him, it was closed. So it probably happens really quick.
And then we see a scene with Mithral from season 1, where he's riding with Greef and Cara Dune. And got me thinking, why would Mithral be with them? Are they breaking him out because whatever his bounty was for, they need that skill? Maybe he's a code breaker. Maybe he's something. Maybe they need to get into the Moff Gideon's base ship and pull some information out, like maybe where Bo-Katan is. And perhaps Bo-Katan is actually a prisoner of Moff Gideon in season 2, and they end up freeing her and battling against Moff Gideon together. Then we see a shot of what looks like an Imperial prison or a ship, and they're kind of opening the door and pointing their guns. Then we see some quick shots of Greef Karga shooting his gun from the transport that we saw earlier when it was jumping down the cliff with the speeder bikes chasing him. And if you look when it's jumping down, you can actually see guns on the side where the stormtroopers were in episode 7 of season 1. We see some TIE fighters taking off and flying through the air. And if you look behind them, is that a volcano behind them? Or is that actually a base being destroyed by the Mandalorian and his crew?
I think when you see that last one lifting off, you can see some lava coming up from below it. So I tend to think that they're on Navarro, and at that point, so is Din Djarin and his buddies. And they've discovered that he's there, and they're going after him. That's my thought.
Yeah, I think you might actually be right about that, Dave. I was actually thinking it might be Navarro too, because we do know that there is some volcanic action there with that horribly sad ending in the last season. So yeah, it very well could be.
And the sneak peek ends where we see Mando finally using his jetpack to jump across a cavern or a canyon of some type, and we get to hear that iconic theme.
by this preview, I think I've noticed that the Mandalorian, we all have noticed by the Mandalorian doing a great job of getting you pumped to watch the season, but not giving you the big reveal. You don't see Ahsoka, you don't see Boba Fett. They're really good storytellers, and apparently they're really good preview makers.
Yeah, it's almost like all the other videos out there claiming that Ahsoka or Boba Fett being in the trailer were, I don't know, just lying. Ugh.
Doug, come on now. We know they wouldn't lie to clickbait and get people in. Where I'm sure Ahsoka, once we go frame by frame through this, we'll see Boba Fett, Ahsoka, Bo-Katan, Darth Vader, the Emperor, Darth Maul, Darth Sidious, any other Darth we could possibly find. I'm sure they're all in there. We just gotta, we're gonna take our time, go frame by frame, and we'll reveal them all to you at a later date.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure we'll totally find all that. But in the meantime, if you guys liked what you watched here, make sure you do all the YouTube stuff. Thanks for watching our video. Make sure you check out all of our other stuff. We got a lot of other great videos. And if you noticed something that we missed in this teaser, let us know in the comments below. And we'll see you next time.